Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. One of the most memorable short stories that I've read many years ago was that short story by Anton Chekhov, and he spoke about a contest that the kings and queens put up for a day. The contest had to do with young, able-bodied men running with all their might from sunrise to sundown, and the distance that everyone could cover would have been equivalent to the land that would belong to him. And so there were many contenders, and when sunrise, when the signal shot was made, everybody ran with all his might. And the majority of them thought it better to stop and turn around at midday, because they figured they only have another half a day to retrace their steps and go back to where they started. But there was one man who just kept on going and said, I'll keep on running till 1 o'clock. And 1 o'clock came and said, I have probably another hour. I'll just do double time during the time that is left. At 3, he wanted more. At 4, he said, maybe it's time to come back. And he ran with all his might, with all his strength. It was his goal to get as much land as he could. And then everybody was cheering for him, and he was dashing for the final goal. And so he kept on huffing and puffing until he fell down in a heap, in a hole that was 6 feet deep, 6 feet long, and 3 feet wide. It was all the land he needed. It's a very disturbing story. When I read it, I was, to be honest with you, very disturbed, because it painted the reality about us, sons and daughters of Eve. The story, of course, has to do with greed. And in the mid-90s, there was a film entitled Bonfire of the Vanities. It was a story of greed in Wall Street in New York. A story of 3 people which revolve around the thematic precisely of greed and cupidity and wanting more. And in the process of wanting more, they were cutting corners, fooling everybody, and cheating everyone they had to cheat. Bonfire of the Vanities. It was reminiscent of the Bonfire of the Vanities done in the late 1400s by Girolamo Savonarola, a Dominican friar who was some kind of a maverick, who was a rebel, rebelling against the cupiditous attitudes and richness of those in power, including those in power in the church, of course. Those in power in Florence at the time, in such a way that Savonarola became so popular that he became a ruler of the Kingdom of Florence. But of course, France had other plans for Florence, and the Emperor Charles, I don't know if it's 2nd or 3rd, sacked Florence. And the prognostications and the prophecies uttered by Savonarola appeared to become real. And of course, he was the first victim of everything he prophesied. He was put to death, hanged, and burned. Doble katay, double dead. Hanged and then burnt at the stake. Of course, Savonarola had good intentions, but this is a very good opportunity for us to tell us what the gospel says and what it does not. I'll have to tell you that when Savonarola burnt in his bonfire of vanities, he burnt all cosmetics existing at the time because he thought they were sinful. He burnt all mirrors. Mirrors are for the vain, vanity of vanities. all things are vanity. But Kohelet this morning is not talking about mirrors and cosmetics and money per se and riches per se. He was talking about the attitude behind it all. It is not riches that are evil. It's not the mirror that makes you sinful. It is the vanity behind your mirror and cosmetics and everything you want to have and everything we all pine for and work for with all our might. The story of Anton Chekhov puts the truth squarely on our laps, and that is, what attitude do we have about riches? Riches are not per se immoral, they are amoral. It's neither bad nor good. But you know very well that if you spend all your lives trying to scrimp and scrounge and to stack up on what you can possibly own within a lifetime, the sad story that I've seen over the past 40 years as a priest is that there are sad stories of old people who were spending all their lives saving up for some future rainy day. And then when they wanted to enjoy whatever it is they saved up, they can no longer walk, they can no longer board a plane, they could no longer enjoy the food that they never ate. And Kohelet was talking a little about this. Vanity of vanities, when all your efforts, somebody else enjoys the fruit of your efforts because you have deprived yourself a little too much during the time when you should be enjoying legitimately what you worked for. The story today reminds us not about riches per se, because it's not sinful. The church never says that rich people are sinful people. The church never says that money is the root of all evil, but the love of money is. And therefore it is not about riches that we are talking, that the liturgy talks about today. It's about your attitude. It's about the values. It's about what matters most for you, or who matters most for that matter. If what matters most for you is the material accumulation, the aggregation of everything you can think of, and therefore, sometimes when I bless homes, I see all different types of people. There are those who are very sparse and spare in their houses, but they are well-to-do. But there are those who are pack rats. Just about everything you can think of is in the kitchen, in the living room, in the bedroom, in the ceiling, everywhere. Piles and piles of things that probably they will never make use of at any time in their lifetime. And we are all guilty of this. It is not about what you have, it's about what matters most for me and you. Today, I feel convicted because the story of the rich man could very well be our own story. And let me retrace for you and maybe translate it into Tagalog to give maximum effect, because in our language talks to the heart. So may isang mayamang lalaki na ang daming ani, kung kaya't nag-isip siya, nagtanong, ano kayang dapat gagawin ko? Ano kayang magaling? Alam ko na. Nagtanong pa, alam niya naman ang gagawin eh. Sisirain ko ang lahat ng kamalig ko at gagawa ako ng mas malalaki. At doon ko ilalagak ang lahat ng aking trigo at mga iba pang mga ani. At hindi lang yan. I need a pat on the back. So sinabi niya, ikaw naman, sapagkat ang dami mong yaman, na inipon mo sa maraming taon, magpahinga ka na, kumain, uminom, at magsaya. Pero ang sinabi ng Panginoon, hangal. That's a hurtful word. It's more hurtful when I hear it and say it in Tagalog, hangal. You fool, my emotions have no connections with the English word fool. because Americans call everybody fools. English speakers, that's a word that they all use every day. But hangal, when was the last time I heard the word hangal? My mother never called me such, although there are mothers who are cruel and call their children all sorts of names. Hangal, this night your life will be demanded of you. It convicts me. It hurts me even, because it is the reality of all of us sons and daughters of Eve. We want more. Look at Xi Jinping, all raring to poke their fingers into Taiwan. Look at Putin the Hitler, all raring to poke their dirty hands on the oil and gas of the Donbas region. It's not about the culture of Kiev Rus. It's all about money. People don't go to war for hurt egos. They go to war for greed and more. And this is the story of all of us. Take care to guard against all greed. It's good to think of for today and bring home for the rest of the week.